Regional School District Number 8 Board of Education meeting to order on Monday, November 16th, 2015, here in the course room at Rham High School. We'll start with the roll call, starting with my far left.
Harrison Powers, student representative. Jack Kaplan, student representative.
Rich Jacobson, Hebron.
Joe O'Connor here.
Kevin Williams, Hebron, interim board chair.
Michael Turner, Marlboro.
Bob Sabinsky, superintendent of schools.
Jamie Moore, business manager.
Okay. We can move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag is in the back of the room. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That brings us to item 3, public comments. And I know we have a couple of issues that will be discussed tonight that folks are going to be fairly strong and passionate about. So if we could try to keep comments limited to about 3 or 4 minutes just to keep the meeting moving, that would be helpful. And also, all I ask is that we just be respectful of our comments. You're certainly constitutionally welcome to share anything you like, any way you like, but the form of respect would be appreciated. So with that, I'll ask, do we have any public comments? Yes.
David Porteous from Marlboro. A few. The first is the Middle School Academy. When I saw the write-up about that in the River East, I was very happy. I am in 100% support what you're doing, even if part of it is let's save tuition going out to magnet schools. The idea is a great one, because for those students who can take advantage of that, it offers a real opportunity to further their learning and feel as if they can take responsibility and take some charge of direction of what they want to do. So it's a great idea. Secondly, I really support the proactive approach that the board's now taken with regard to all the infrastructure issues. And working with the towns, the boards of finance, select people, and so on, that's great. You need to do that, because the third issue is that Marlboro's looking at, we're going to have a higher proportion over the next few years, and it's going to cost more. And phasing this in and being transparent so that all the citizens see that, hey, they're doing it right, and they're working with everybody, so it's more of a consensus move. So I'm just here to applaud what you all are doing, and thank you for doing this difficult task, because Rham doesn't get all the attention that it probably needs, and we pay less than, we pay a tiny amount in comparison to the value of what we get out of Rham. Rham has a high quality education, and we're paying in Marlboro 168 out of 169 towns. A very low cost for a very high value. So please continue to support this high quality education that you're offering. Thank you.
Additional public comment? Yeah, Mr. Jepson.
Yeah, John Jepson, Hebron, Connecticut. Couple quick comments. One, as to this gentleman's discussion on the infrastructure projects. We have a $90 million asset that has been essentially maintenance deferred for the last 12 or 13 years. So I think it's really important not only for you folks and the 3 towns to go through the procedure of reviewing what we have, what needs to be fixed, how much it's going to cost, and how we're going to pay for it. But I also think it's critical that we get some kind of plan in place so that we know when certain things need to be replaced, when they need to be taken care of, when they need to be updated, so we don't find ourselves 10 years out with a $10 million nut that we now need to try to absorb again. So we need this is a professional building, just like any other professional building, and it needs to have a plan both externally and internally for the maintenance, and that needs to be built into the budget every year so we don't have these huge spikes. So planning for that would be helpful. Secondly, I know you guys have seen some emails with regard to what happened with the girls soccer team earlier this week. That was unfortunate that the Rham girls had to lose a home game because our field wasn't in playable condition or wasn't deemed to be in playable condition. That's happened a number of times over the last 4 years. Boys and girls soccer both got moved last year in the CCC tournament finals because the field wasn't playable. And a number of times over the prior years, the game's been moved to Eastern and so forth. Little frustration in that we knew on Sunday that the weather, that it was potentially going to be rainy on Monday, Tuesday. There was no planning, there was no backup plan. Burnt Hill was available, Eastern was available, but there was no backup plan in place to move these kids to another area in town where their classmates could come cheer them on. Instead, they moved the game to Pomperog, which was the visiting team. So Pomperog is a home field advantage, and our kids lose the opportunity to play in front of their friends. Just a note that moving the game to Pomperog is a violation of CIAC rules. The athletic director should have known that. We should have played at a neutral site, but unfortunately we ended up in Pomperog. And I would implore the board to please do something as far as backup planning. If funds aren't available for a turf field, or we're not able to fix that field, we need to have some other plan in place for football, lacrosse, soccer to go if they don't have a place to play here, rather than moving stuff an hour, hour and a half away.
Thank you, John. Mr. Larson?
It's Daniel Larson, Hebron. I was at the presentation the other night, and I thought that both companies did a very good job. That being said, I'm a little concerned and puzzled, though. Angie Tierney, the town manager, sent a letter with a number of concerns. These concerns had never been mentioned the other night. What I'm hoping is that there's already been dialogue that has been started with different towns' boards and commissions to address those concerns, and some of them revolve around lighting, parking. The Veterans Park parking was supposed to be a temporary solution, yet the way it was presented was that that was going to be part of their long-term solution, and they stated numerous times that there would be no additional parking on the campus itself, which, as I say, has me a little puzzled, a little concerned. I advise and I beg of you to please do not work in a vacuum. You know, get with the different boards and commissions, with the town. You know, you talk about wanting everybody to work together, the different town agencies, you know, the different boards of selectmen, the boards of finance. The way to do that is to reach out and talk to them, show them what your plans are. Don't let them be surprised at a meeting like this, please.
Thank you. Additional public comment? C. Fowler.
Hi, Lisa C. Fowler, Marlboro. I am here to talk about my concern and hopes for the music program. I was not even aware that Mr. Gadwa's position was less than a full-time position. So I was very happy to hear when it's been preliminarily, I guess, decided that he will go up in hours. And I feel that this is such a strong part of our Rham community. Both of my daughters are in the music department. One is a 7th grader at Rham, and the other is a sophomore. To have a whole, I mean, we talk about lots of different things tonight, but education is the primary reason why our children are here. And enrichment in education is so important to keep on the table. My concern is that when it comes time to vote on the budget, that may be one of the things that might be lopped off. So I would urge you to give strong consideration to bringing this up to, again, an ideal full-time position, to give it the attention that is needed. Many children in this school go on to choose music education or music and fine arts performance as their career, as their profession. And so let's not slide downwards. I'm really glad to hear that, sadly, while Mr. Gadwa was leaving, this has been another opportunity to look at what are the needs of the students that are keenly skilled and interested in music as an academic and a passion. Thank you.
Thanks. Additional public comment?
Randy Scully, Hebron.
I'd just like to add to Mr. Jepson's comments, and it's more of a suggestion, I guess. First off, we certainly understand that the field situation here has been a difficult one. We understand and appreciate the fact that you guys got involved and came up with a solution, or at least a temporary solution. The field is moving in the right direction, but it is temporary. The field has major problems. And we're going to be faced with decisions like were made last Wednesday, or last fall with the boys, or last spring when the entire lacrosse season for boys and girls, JV and varsity, was moved to non-home sites. Okay, and once again, I understand this is a difficult situation, but you guys had to micromanage getting this facilities kind of outsourced to the town of Hebron. That's great. I would also suggest that you might have to micromanage the situation where a decision is made to take away a home advantage for teams that are in state tournaments or entire seasons. And when I say that, I don't think that should be left to the athletic department, who basically takes the easiest road. How can I manage this? Very simple. We send it away. That is not the best solution for our kids. And we've already heard it. We're here for our kids. Well, maybe we should try to demonstrate that. So I would recommend that we put a protocol in place with the athletic director that very specifically says, if in fact the decision, or we can't play on our competition field, then we need to do this. A, how about calling Calarco at the town of Hebron? I mean, if in fact the field was available for that game and we carted the kids halfway across the state, shame on us. You know, so I would ask that you just think about perhaps putting a protocol in place and not leaving those decisions to someone who might not be making the best decision for our kids. Thanks.
Thank you. Additional public comment? And once, twice. So we'll move on to the next item, which will be item 4, additions to the agenda. Do we have any requests for additions to tonight's agenda?
I'd like to make a move, add to the addition of the agenda, the discussion and possible action regarding athletic-related concerns be added for the discussion of the athletic fields and protocols that need to take place to move into for issues that we just discussed or heard.
Okay, so a motion on the table to add a discussion and possible action related to athletic-related concerns. Is there a second? Okay, second by Rich Jacobson. Any discussion? Okay,
I'm sorry, can I just, are we looking to ask for to transfer this to the athletic committee, or?
that would be part of the discussion of the item.
Okay.
I don't really understand what he's asking for.
Well, I think it's regarding the athletics, the concern that we just heard of, with the soccer team being moved. I think we need to address that as a board, and we need to have some discussion on it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of adding that item to the agenda, raise your hand, say aye, please. Aye. Opposed? Okay, that'll become item 8.12 on the agenda. Any other additions or requests for additions to the agenda?
I'd like to add safety to the agenda, and I just want to request the administration to provide us an update on what's taken place as far as increasing the safety of our schools from a safety assessment that was done a couple of years ago. I understand those locks was being built, bought, and I just think it's a good time.
Okay, so motion for discussion and possible action related to the safety plan for Rham High School, for the Rham buildings in general. Go to second. second by Judy Nelson Clark. Any further discussion?
Is that an issue that we can discuss in the facility safety committee and then bring back to the board? You know, it would seem that would be a process.
Is it
That
being
certainly
done?
could be the outcome of our discussion. I think we haven't done anything in the 2 years I've been here, so we should have a direction.
I think the discussion happens here, and then we can say to the facilities committee, please discuss the safety and outcomes and report back to the board in next month.
Other questions? Okay, call for a vote. All those in favor of adding discussion and possible action related to the safety study and potential outcomes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Motion carries. It'll become item 8.13. Any other additions to the agenda that you would like?
I'd like to add in executive session, an update from, on the stairs in middle school.
Why would stairs need to be executive session?
Involves litigation. So, topic to be requested to be added to the executive session regarding potential litigation involving stairs in middle school. I'll second it for you. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Any other requests for additions to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 5, report of the administration. Bob?
Number one, I'd like to touch on music department staffing. If you would recall, Mrs. Quinn resigned as retired as music department head. Just eliminated her position and another coordinator. And another coordinator took over as music department coordinator, leaving that position as point 6. With Mr. Gadwell's recommendation and seeing some of the other issues that we've had filling part-time positions, I'm recommending that the position be made a .8 position this year, and then next year be made a 1.0 position. This year, you can reallocate some money from the high school teaching account, and next year there's a position called auditorium manager. We would add that to that person's responsibility, and then he would become and that would make the position full-time. That position is a supplementary compensation position that's already in the budget. So I would recommend that we go forward with that.
Any reason why we can't make a full-time position right away?
We could, but the numbers that I've done were based on doing it as a .8 position. And we would, when we were interviewing, we would be looking to suggest to the person that next year the position would be full-time.
Is there a guarantee that it'd be a full-time position, or, I mean?
The guarantee depends on the board and what budget we support.
Again, so, that's my whole point. Is, I mean, if you're someone looking for a job and you're really gonna take a 28 position, knowing that it can stay that way, you can be in the same boat that we're in now.
That would depend on the actions of the board. I think part of the process is, Bob's mentioning, the additional .2 would be the management of the auditorium facility, which right now is a 6th assignment. It does create some complexities if we wanted to try to pull the plug on that in the middle. There would be a negotiation with the existing staff member that is getting paid for the 6th assignment to run the auditorium for this year, and some additional issues that may arise out of that conversation that we wouldn't necessarily have to take on if we left that part of the position the way it is now, with the intent of adding that for next year's budget.
Is there enough to keep the person busy without that additional assignment?
As a .8, yes.
As a full-time?
Yeah, I know the music department has actually gone through and they have laid out a formal structure as far as what each position will be doing.
That's not what I asked, is there enough to keep them busy as a full-time position without
Oh, as a full-time?
adding that, managing
Not really, only because if you were to try to add class segments, you're not going to be able to introduce a new course in mid-year. Scheduling's already been done for the year as far as the students go.
Yeah, but I mean, there's other assignments that they have and other, tasks that they need to do aside that, I don't know.
Maybe we should keep that later in the agenda.
Yeah, it's actually in as item 8.7 for discussion of possible action related to this. So right now it's just be questions about the topic itself. So as far as decisions we might make and what our options are, that should be in.
Hmm.
All right. 5.2, Bob?
We finally got clearance from the state on the cafeteria contract, and I'll be distributing you a copy of the contract, so we're finally ready to go for the upcoming year. And then we will be going out to bid for food services in the spring, but the template for the bid process must be prepared by the State Department of Education in cooperation with the federal government, and we have not received that template yet, so we'll see where that goes. As you recall, we received this was we had to have we go to the middle of September, then it was 1 month contract, so finally we got it squared away so that the contract is active through the balance of the year. And sometime during the spring, as soon as we get the template from the state.
Can I ask a question? Last time we spoke about this, I mentioned the $40,000 surplus that we came up with and wondered if it could be passed along to students. Is that incorporated into this amendment?
No, it's not.
Okay, so,
That contract is, the pricing was set by the board. That contract simply deals with Chocolate's operations. And one of the things I'd like to discuss later is, there was a request made of the status of some of the accounts, and I'm really looking for specifically what you're looking for so that we can provide that information for you.
And Amy, that's item 5.6, the finance overview of non-board accounts.
okay, thanks.
Okay.
The projects that the board approved at the last meeting, I have a resolution that I'm going to ask Mrs. Benson Clark to sign this evening so that we can begin that process. I had a conversation this morning with the Department of Education. The handicap accessibility project can be submitted at any time. So we're in the process of, there were a couple things that I needed to have some more conversation with them because the information I got, this phone message is going back and forth. That project can be submitted at any time, but we must show the local share of funding for the project. It can't be, it's either going to be from the budget or the non-recurring fund. He's asking for educational specifications, and I've had 2 conversations with the Department of Education. One saying handicap accessibility doesn't require any educational specification, so I need to get some clarification on that. And of course, the funding that we're looking at for the district is 38%, so we'll be continuing that conversation. As far as the site modification goes, we have to submit that by June 2016, and if there's going to be any funding on that, funding will be in June of 2017.
Are you just speaking of the project to bring things up to code at the moment?
The first part is to bring things up to code. The first part is the other part that was passed by the board.
Mm-hmm.
It was my understanding that we had to get in it as soon as possible so that the senator and the representative could in fact do the maneuvering they needed to do to.
This is a conversation with the Department of Education.
Mhm.
The Department of Education is one submission. Then the senator asked that when we have this complete, that she be informed and that she would proceed from that point on.
Okay, so I'm hearing that this doesn't have to be done immediately, that it could be submitted at any time, but.
As far as, I think that as far as the big project is concerned, the department that will take it up to June of 2016. Now, what happens to it at that point, nothing
haven't said no to the handicap.
They haven't said no to the handicap. That can be submitted at any time. I think the thing that I'm going to ask them about is the continuing, the non-recurring funds. I want to be sure that we don't have to have a vote from the district meeting to allocate those funds to specifically the handicap accessibility project before I submit. I just need to be sure that I'm clear on that technicality.
You had some different numbers the other night, and you were going to work to finalize that. What was for just the code violations or bringing it to code for handicap accessibility purposes? What was that dollar amount?
If my memory serves me correctly, I think the issue with me, I think it's about $300,000.
Can you get those numbers out to the board?
I will.
The percent you said again? Could you repeat that?
$300,000.
No, was it 38%?
38%.
Okay, thank you.
I was confused by what you said about the number, so we have to match 38%?
Our portion of the handicap accessibility is 38%.
If we can match it.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
That's our
That's our portion.
Technically, 38% is a portion of the other one, if they so selected.
No, you're talking about the modifications and some of the other building projects? No, that's different.
But we have to, if we're going to submit, before we have to find a 38% match for that. And if you take 300 from the 10 million, that's 9,700,000. And the board would have to come up with a 38% match before I can submit that project.
We're getting into 8.8 again.
Yes, we are. Yeah, as far as decisions made. Okay, any other questions for information purposes on that? Okay, 5-4, Bob?
The middle school academy, we had our first meeting with the middle school academy last week. We had 42 parents and a number of students there, and a number of the students especially were excited about the possibility of the middle school academy. So what we'd be requesting is for the board to grant us permission to go forward with the academy and to begin the formal process of signing students up for it.
Okay, and that is on the agenda under item 8. Okay.
Finance, Jim.
Your budget status now from October 31st. I attached 3 documents. One thing I would like, would hope that we can determine which set of documents we want to use moving forward. Because I have been receiving some questions, but we can't determine from the questions which documents people are looking at. So it would be helpful if we're going to continue to use all 3 documents, then we're going to have to, when the questions come in, we'll have to determine what document that the board member is looking at. So to recap the memo, the attachment number 1 is according to the board policy that exists now with the different 7 major object codes. Attachment number 2 is the budget status by program that I believe that you were used to seeing last year. And then the third attachment is the transfers that I've submitted to the superintendent and the board for approval. We currently have an estimated balance of $3.1 million, but as I mentioned in my memo, there are still some major items that haven't been encumbered, such as the health insurance and the health savings account contributions. There's a balance in the capital account. Custodial maintenance supplies, those types of things. We encumber them during the course of the year. Health insurance, as soon as we get staff back up to full staff in the department, the plan would be to get that health insurance encumbered to see, and also to see whether we have any, you know, I'm projecting that we're probably gonna have money in that health insurance account, but not until we get it encumbered. Can't really tell that. Let's see. I don't want to repeat what I wrote in the memo, but basically there are some, you know, notable personnel transfers. Mainly, quite a bit of personnel gets moved around based on when the budget's developed. Then, based on what people leave, what people get hired at, that type of thing. Whether they get transferred from a science program to a music program. So there's a lot of transfers that go on. It is not because of poor budget. It's because of what we budgeted at the time for what we knew. So I just wanted to make that clear. We still haven't received excess cost monies. We still have to deal with the IDA grant to offset the payroll accounts. And we also still have athletic and participation fees, which we would normally, after each season, post money to the board funds, which hasn't been done yet. So, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Are we going to do it now or later?
No, this needs to be discussed now, so, I'll start at the far end. Carol, do you have any questions for Jane? Amy? Okay, Rich?
Do we want to talk about the transfers now? We have a section.
For clarification purposes, you know, anything that you're trying to get an understanding of in terms of what's being presented, that's fine. As far as the action goes, that will be 8:10.
I just had some questions on the transfers.
That's fine. As far as what's listed?
Yeah. One question, actually, is probably for Bob, is that we're moving a lot of money out of guidance. That seems from previous discussions a shortage of people, so is there a reason for that?
We hired a new replacement person that was a step lower than the person who was the previous incumbent. And we had, the two guidance counselors hired this year, who were both hired at lower steps. See, I think that if you look at, let me just talk about hiring people at the moment. And I think that that's an important thing to look at. Because at the end of the year, last year, we had 4 veteran teachers retire in the month of May. And I think it's important for 2 reasons, because the question becomes what happens to the accounts for sick leave buyout. And we can't do anything when people make up their minds at the end of the year and then retire. It's either go with a known commodity or put placeholders in. And the decision of previous boards was not to put placeholders in because we had no idea what the placeholders would be. And just to give you an idea of the individuals that were involved, usually the district has kind of a massive retirement party for everybody who's going to be leaving in 1 year. These people didn't make the decisions known until after that event was scheduled and taking place. So you can see how private event and happening it was for those individuals.
So
As far as high school guidance, we had 2 things going on in guidance. We had people move from middle school to high school, and on top of that, the replacement for the high school guidance counselors was less than what was originally budgeted. So therefore, that's why there's a budget surplus in high school guidance. If that makes it simple.
Yep. What was the new equipment that you purchased for your office?
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
What was the new equipment that was purchased for your office? I'm assuming for $15,000.
For my office,
Or
that's maintenance. Are you talking the 15,000?
yeah.
I'd have to go back and take a look at what it was. Well, what I try to do is not take other money from the maintenance budget, I use the money of the surplus from the other personnel accounts. If that's something that the board wants me to do, direct me to do, to take it from the program that it's in, then I most certainly can do that, but at this stage, didn't see any surpluses, anticipated surpluses in the maintenance account.
The only reason is last year we removed half the end of the year, we had a whole pile of money in maintenance that we didn't spend, that got transferred out of maintenance. So, just questioning that. Maintenance overtime, do we not budget for that?
We budget, we do have a budget for maintenance overtime, but we also have been without one maintainer, so therefore, the other maintainers have to cover that overtime plus. So I'm anticipating that we would have more overtime in that maintenance account, that's why it's moved. If we don't use it, we don't use it.
Are we doing anything to limit the overtime?
Overtime is strictly on an as-needed basis. They don't just work to work. They're working because they're required. For instance, we have things that when we had our facilities walkthrough, we had to pay that person to work. So, and then when we have other events that go on that require maintainers, we have the contract, we have to pay them. But hopefully that should die down a little bit once we get our third maintainer in here.
So we are actively looking for another.
Yes, we are. Yep. We're looking for a groundskeeper now because there appears to be more than need for a groundskeeper based on what, the committee was looking for. So the last set of maintenance applicants didn't meet what we were looking for. So instead of just hiring somebody to hire somebody, direction Schlegel to let's look for somebody for what we really need them for. If they don't know how to cut the lawn and use the equipment, then we can do something.
Around here, there was about 4 or 5 things that weren't budgeted.
Can you be a little bit more specific so that?
Yeah, like the cave membership was under budgeted. Dues and fees were, actually, the dues and fees for one, for the high school principal, that was under budgeted by $6,600.
Cave was a budgeting error. Can you tell me where you are on the transfer sheet?
Right above cave,
Okay, can you tell me where Cave is?
second page, top.
Dues and fees.
I think,
I don't think, right? No, I don't think it was NEASC. I think it was, I'd have to look. I'm not quite sure what it was for. It was for something that the high school uses that I think got missed in the budget. But I'll have to take a look. I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
The other question I had was, we have a huge increase in paper usage, copier.
So, the auditor, at the end of the fiscal year, we used to spend a large amount of money on copy paper. The auditor stopped us from doing that. And in this whole transition, copy paper was not budgeted for. So, that's what.
Once we approve these things, then you'll put them into that budget?
Yeah, what really has to happen is these need to be approved, so these transfers can be done, because if they're not done, then the next budget projection is, we just start all over again.
Okay. I have a bunch of little smaller quick, so they're not relative. But I really like, I think this is a great step.
that's it for you. Joe, anything?
Couple of things, under, you touched on, I guess, at the special meeting with the tennis court netting, so maybe we could talk about where we are with that, please.
The SC is in the process of preparing the specifications for it. And we haven't received them yet.
But I meant financially, we had the money, approved the money, now the money has been returned, so I'd like to, so the whole board knows what's going on, because I've heard little bits and pieces about it at the last meeting, so understanding how we budgeted for the money, we didn't spend the money, but now the money's gone back to a surplus fund. And my second question to that would be, how much is the surplus fund?
Well, it hasn't gone back yet. It's still encumbered on the system. I believe it was encumbered to at $28,000 because it got dropped. In my meetings, my work with the auditor, they're not gonna allow it now. They said it's too old, nothing's happened. So what they will do is they will, at this stage of the game, he's going to, we have, money we have to pay out for retro pay for the non-certified union contract. So I'm working towards calculating what that dollar amount is, because even though we encumbered money for that, he's allowing us to take part of that and put it towards that if in the event we need it. And then obviously what we don't need will drop, and then when all it's done and whatever the bottom line is, then the board, takes care of deciding what to do with balance.
So the auditor rules has the final say in this, because you did encumber the money. And the board did approve to have that net installed.
I argued your case
Well,
with the auditor.
the auditor, do we have any recourse? Because we really need to get this project started. And we don't have the money now to do it. So my
It's our fault for not acting on it.
I'm sorry?
It's our fault for not acting on it.
I
Or the schools or whatever.
No, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
But we did have a plan, I think it's stalled between the two coaches,
Right.
but that's internally, but we did our job.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I think Jane did her job, she approved, the money was encumbered, so just because it went to the next year, I don't know the whole game here, but you would think that we did everything correctly, and once again, our kids are going to be in jeopardy of taking a ball in the head, and I have an issue with that.
Bill, rather, we have to find out how to get those on order, we should be doing it this fall, get that installed.
I have a question. You say it's in design, correct? They're working on the design?
I'm sorry?
It's in design?
It's in design.
It's in
Yes,
design,
it's
so is there a schedule for, once the design is
I
complete?
haven't received the final design yet from DSC, because I know they're focusing on the traffic and other needs.
Okay.
So, I've got to call into them and see what we can get,
Okay.
because they said that they were working on it.
Once the design is complete, is it possible to do the work now, or is it too late, we have to wait till spring, is that it? That's the status.
As long as there's no snow.
No, we don't have the funds.
Yeah, we have.
We gave the funds. Yeah, I'm assuming we don't have the funds, right? It's $25,000.
They're gonna have
No,
both
yeah.
funds.
The design is paid for. It's a question of the construction that needs to be paid for.
Correct.
I'm still gonna, bring up the auditor before we're all wrapped up with him,
So I just want to see if I can get some clarification on this. And try to keep this, involved as we should be on this item, which would be the financial status of things. So, Jane, as I'm reading this, we originally encumbered funds specifically for design, purchase, and installation of the netting. When audit reviewed where we stood, the auditor said, okay, you have these encumbered funds, but yet you haven't expended them within the time frame that you should have, so you need to take action relative to those funds. As of today, no specific action's been taken. Those funds are in suspense.
No, right, we haven't taken action,
Right.
so they are not going to allow us to continue to carry over.
Right, so the the auditor is saying,
Because it's
I'm gonna
been on the
disallow the
books.
carryover.
Right.
You need to take action relative to these funds, but that action hasn't been decided.
Correct.
Okay.
Not that we need to take action on the funds that have to do with the tennis court, that's a done deal. He's not gonna let us do that. But he said, I'm gonna let you take that money, and if you need it, because of the
Because it's retro, so it goes back to the prior budget year? Okay.
Okay. That's,
Even in June, or when.
in April, we won't have a net system up in place to protect our kids, so we're gonna.
It doesn't say that we don't have money in our current year's budget.
Right.
It's going to be spent for.
Okay, so, all right, no, I guess that's another,
So if the board says to me, look for the money in this year, start looking for it now, then the board can do that. They can direct the superintendent or me to start looking for that money now.
so what is the issue with the non-certs? I missed that.
We have to, the not certified union's contract has not been
Ratified?
completed yet.
Okay,
We still owe them retro pay from all of last year.
okay.
I encumbered a best guess of what I thought we would be paying out. Now that they're done with last year, we can go back and we can manually calculate what we think we owe them. And if what I have encumbered is not enough, then I can use some of that money.
Okay, so,
Don't forget that number, that money was encumbered, and we didn't have a final number of, and a final percentage of what the negotiations were gonna set away. So any number of millions is just a guesstimate.
So what action do we need to take to allow the operation or the recommendation to go with funding fund?
I think there's some. Say, find the money.
Yeah, let's,
Find the
when we
money.
get to,
Facility.
It boils down to it.
yeah, let's, when we get to 810, we talk about budget transfers, let's talk about it there.
my only last question is, a while back, we applied last year for FEMA money. And we were going to be receiving FEMA money, somewhere in the net, I went back to notes, like $15,000.
That was last year, right?
But have we received that money?
Oh, that's all part of last year, that's a done deal.
It should have been coming in this year. The town of Hebron got their FEMA money in July. Did we get our FEMA money in July?
We probably got our money in July, but the books were closed based on, that was a receivable that we expected to get.
How do you take a receivable you don't know you're getting?
So we knew we were getting it.
They guaranteed.
They told us we were getting money, we just hadn't physically gotten it. So.
Can you show me where we took that 15, got that 15,000? Not today, but at some point, I'd like to know where that money was applied to. That's it for me, Kevin, thank you.
Judy, any questions?
Yeah, so you said you, don't know what the maintenance items were?
I don't know.
The 15,275, okay. Just because, and I see that the high school, Rich and I have been at a couple of meetings, and as well as I know the entire board at the Marlboro meeting is worried about the number of guidance counselors we have in some of their work. So it looks like the 28,242 was a wash, that went from high school to middle school. And I think you explained that on the front of the document, guiding teaching staff, lower salary, and you said there were some transfers. Then the other dollar amount right in that same kind of cluster, the 25,550, was there money? I know that someone left and there were some account temp services. Was there any money budgeted for that in any salary line items or did we have any money left over when someone left or?
Are you talking guidance counselors or are you talking?
Well, both, because in the transfer, it looks like it went from high school guidance counselors to the explanation for 25,550 is accounting temp services, that it was from to. So I'm just wondering that, just so I understand, the accounting temp services, was that because when someone left, why did we need that? And was there money in a salary line item somewhere or anywhere for that accounting temp services?
Yes, you have the money that was freed up from the accounts payable person who left.
Mhm.
So we hired we hired a temp services, which is probably twice to 3 times the amount we're paying, probably close to 3 times the amount for an accounting service than what we'd be paying that employee. Then, also, I'm moving money because we replaced that position, created an account supervisor, and the balance of what is in the accounts payable position that's open is being moved because I created an account supervisor line item. That person is not going to be falling with the rest of the account people. So therefore, I use high school guidance money and funds from not paying someone because nobody's been missing products. But the bulk of the money would be to pay the person that's in there to the account town. Does that make sense?
It does, I do understand it, and I definitely understand the importance of good books and accurate accounting and all of these very many needs and sound facilities and all kinds of programs. And I wish, there was even more money for math and science and English language arts and all of those things as well, because we are a school and the academic core in the center is so important, and I appreciate how difficult the budget is, but it feels like, and often is, that there's so many competing needs that, I just want to, and I know it's still early, but as we're going into the budget, that we keep that vital central mission in mind and how we fund our academic programs to excellence. So.
Mike?
Yeah, just really a comment, in the past, not to say which way was more appropriate or not, but, we used to use an average teacher's salary in the budget, and it kind of kept more senior departments from looking expensive and those of the younger teachers from looking cheap, and it just was an easier way, I think, to do the accounting. And, now that we're using specific salaries and moving those around, that gives us a page or two of transfers right there that never really existed in the past, and just reflects how people move around. And then,
I think for budgeting purposes, they use an average salary, because you don't, for like new positions, because you don't know how much a person's gonna possibly get then. But once you get the actual figures, the figures are gonna be different. So that's why there's a difference. But I don't think we actually, when we budget, I don't think there's been any difference about the way the numbers are.
look like actual
I'm
salaries.
thinking that probably, because you can see this until the end of the year, that's where it was all.
Yeah.
And, this is a pretty big transfer. This shouldn't, hopefully, the next one isn't taking 3 days to get. This, the bulk of all personnel, I'm dealing with everything that moved from July 1. Now, hopefully, everybody's in their place. I can't remember whether we budget MA.
NA3 master, NA3 with 2-person health insurance. That's if we have a vacancy.
That's what you're using for your placeholder.
That's what we use for a placeholder. And what happened this past year is we had 4 special ed teachers that retired in the month of May. And so when we built the budget, we had their full salary in there. And we didn't know until that point in time, after the budget was finalized, that we were going to have that money.
And you can know what somebody's salary is gonna be the next year.
That's
But
right.
you're not exactly sure what they're gonna elect for benefits.
That's
But
right.
anyway.
And that's been a pretty good placeholder over the years for us, and it's worked. I mean, sometimes we go overboard, and sometimes we're under that.
Anything else, Mike?
No, all set.
Just one last question. What is the time period for encumbrances?
I don't understand your question.
We encumbered money, I'm going back to, I guess, the netting issue.
Yeah.
So I understand.
Oh, okay.
So when we encumber money,
Okay. You're supposed to have your, obviously, when you close your books in June, you have encumbrances. Okay? And those encumbrances are what, I'm trying to give a kind of a simple explanation. You buy, what was it, the hot water heater? Was it the hot water heater? Hot water heater was encumbered, okay? We took care of that, we encumbered it. It was on order, so it took a while. And then, I don't know, it was shipped from wherever it came from. So by the time that got taken care of, it was this summer. So that purchase order got carried over into the new year. It was allowed because they can see progress.
It was allowed as a 2014-15
Correct.
expense as
Correct.
opposed to maybe 15-16.
Correct.
So although the actual final transaction happens now, it's put against last year's books because
That's right.
everything
So
tracks
whatever,
backward.
so whatever got carried over at the end of the school year, then the goal is to clean it up. Probably it should be cleaned up by now. I'm not gonna say there's no way to clean it up, but that's really good. But it's pretty, in fact, I think I did in the last board packet, there was a memo to the board with Bob about where we stood. Because I think I mentioned at that point that one of the major items was still the tennis court, and that's auditors hadn't come in. I listed 3 non-certified, the tennis court nets and something else. So most of the stuff gets cleaned up during the summer because the goods just, the goods might be there, but the bill hasn't come in yet.
but is there a statute that says it's 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, or is it open-ended? I mean,
Well, I think it depends on business managers and it depends on districts. I mean, I came from a district where they had stuff that was carried over 2 years, and that they were having free, they let them go. I'm not quite sure how he operated with the prior auditor, whether he allowed things to be carried over for a good length of time. This auditor the same. Same thing with copyright. And we showed every year, at the end of the year, we do this. This is the way we operate. And he said no.
So basically, the bottom line is how much time do we have to act once we approve this?
If we do it again this year?
Yeah.
I think we'll be okay because we're starting earlier, and I think there's a mission, last year, we decided what we were gonna do, but then people couldn't agree on it, and then the committee decided to let BSC do another analysis of it. I'm still gonna go back to them again and say, listen, these are the steps they took.
right, but didn't you give a purchase order to BSC Group to do?
BSC Group, purchase order to BSC Group to do the study, not to do the physical work,
Right, but
because somebody else is gonna do
But
it.
Is that the difference? If you created that, that would still be part of that year, is that the difference?
Because the BSC was this year.
Was that the July 1st?
BSC was this year, out of this year's capital fund to BSC.
So if you did
and
it
others.
before June 30th, and you committed the money before June 30th, would that constitute, I mean, I just had something like that, and it did, but you're right, I'm sure it depends on auditors.
Well, we committed the money last